Joining me now is author and political commentator Shamika Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done. Black women have to be the most insecure people on the planet. Listen, so people are taking a second look at the show Martin Lawrence created called Martin, the sitcom where Martin had the girlfriend played by Tisha Campbell. Her character was Gina. He had the friends, Tommy and Cole, and Pam was Gina's friend. People are now taking a second look at it because artist Ari Lennox has come out to say that she had issues with the show because Martin was always, we would say, scolding from where I come from. He was always scolding on Pam, who was a darker skinned woman, and it made her feel some type of way. Anyway, I'm not going to paraphrase or try to put it in my own words. Let's listen to it. Listen to it with your own ears.
That pissed me off about Martin was how much he would go on Pam. Like, I know, like, and this is coming from a girl who I love me a good, like, joking ass movie. And it even when the joking movie is like, damn, like, that was fucked up. Like, you know, I'm not like too woke or something is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm honestly not, I'm problematic. I'm pretty problematic, low key. But my point is that there are some things where I draw the line and it just bothered me. Or like, I don't know, it's like Pam was so fucking beautiful and so fine. And I just feel like growing up as a chocolate girl, like, I don't even know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam because of the light that I feel like I was being fed. You know what I'm saying? Like, of just like always going on Pam, always, like, that's all I remember. And I didn't like that. But like, so I feel conflicted because while I feel like the show is incredible and I feel like Martin is a legendary show and all of the actors and Tommy and like everybody, like, legendary, amazing. Like, I adore them all. Like, you have no idea. And I adore Martin. Like, I adore him. It just would piss me off, like the joking on Pam. I just didn't like that, you know? Like, I'll always kind of feel a way about that. Like,
now, what I appreciate most is her saying that she's pretty problematic, low-key. Not sure how low-key this is. However, I saw other people, chiming in saying, let's be real. Anytime he would refer to her having buckshots or BDBs, he was looking down on dark-skinned women. Can we grow up? Can we please grow up? Now, I get it. At 8, 9, 10 years old, I was what was known as an African booty scratcher because I had dark skin. This was the thing in the Black community. The darker the skin, you were more likened to an African. And mind you, I was about this big. So I was just a few steps away from those kids that was on the Sally Struthers infomercials on Saturdays saying, for just 35 cents a day, you can feed when all I needed was just a few flies. Listen, that's how tiny I was coming up. All I needed was a few flies. And I could have done one of those infomercials. So I get it. if you came up 70s, 80s, you know, that you might not have felt like you were that great. I remember as a child whining, I'm too black, my lips too big, my hair's too nappy. And listen, my hair is not even that nappy. If my mother would have known what to do with it when I was young, maybe I wouldn't have had to go from the straightening comb to the Vigoro to the Jerry curl to the perm or the relaxer. It's just, she didn't know what to do with it. Because as a dark-skinned woman, listen, I don't have BDBs. You see that? I don't have BDBs, nor do I have a relaxer. This is my hair. See that? I don't have, now, this is not my hair. Y'all want y'all to be confused. But my natural hair, I don't have BDBs. So when he was referring to Pam's BDBs, it was not for all dark-skinned people. It was for Pam. So if you own that, Ari Lennox, that was on you. And what's frustrating for me is for Black women in somebody else's hair to constantly complain or point the finger when no one hates Black hair or dark skin, you know, more than Black women or dark-skinned women. I don't constantly see white people saying, oh, your hair is horrible. Now, when you're wearing those blonde wigs looking crazy, you're bound to get some comments. When you are wearing hair that clearly does not match the hair growing out of your scalp, you're bound to get some comments. But what I'm sick of is Black women pointing the finger, blaming everybody else instead of doing some self-reflection. This was a comedic show. Martin was a comedic show, and it was hilarious. I would go as far as to say it's comedic genius. And the cast, they jailed. They got along great, and it came across on screen. And when they weren't getting along great, that came across on screen as well. But this was a good show. And it's not unrealistic. I have a friend whose melanin count is just about the same as mine, whose husband, we will always go back and forth. Just as Pam and Martin did, because listen, if we're going to talk about how Martin with Joan on Pam or Skull on Pam, we have to remember Pam would also Skull on Martin. Anybody with big ears could have felt some type of way. Anybody that was short could have felt some type of way. It was a comedic show. Martin also picked on Tisha Campbell or Gina for the size of her head, for not having hips, for having a muscle butt. He picked on Tommy for having a bald head. Picked on Cole for being short and stocky. Like, this was the show. So when you have someone come out 30 years later looking for a problem, honestly, she need look no further than her own mirror. Because the problem isn't with Martin. The problem is with her. And if you feel this way, the problem is with you. I am so sick of Black women projecting and being insecure when you could just own you. Own you. And then we come up with things like black girl magic. Everybody want to be a black girl. They're going out here, getting the lips, getting the butt, we say all of these things that it appears we really don't believe. If you really believe that, 30 years later, you would not be saying, or even then, because when I was a child, I thought as a child, I spoke as a child, but when I became an adult, I put away childish things. Focusing on skin color, something that's so shallow and has no real bearing on who you are internally, is childish. My skin color does not have an effect on how I treat people, how I carry myself, how I interact with others. It's just skin color. It's just my melanin count. So when you start to project, and I need all of y'all to hear me, Black women, y'all are the most insecure group of people on the planet. The amount of money you spend buying hair that closely or more resembles someone else's other than your own, insecure. All these fake eyelashes, insecure. The way y'all are going under the knife, putting your health, sometimes your life in jeopardy for the physical, is very shallow and it's insecure. But instead of you dealing with it, instead of you looking in the mirror and trying to get down to the bottom of the problem, because the bottom of the problem is not Martin or any other show or anything outside of yourself. The problem is within. Your inner me is the enemy. The enemy is your inner me. That's where the problem lies. So when you sit and say things like, I gotta wear this wig or this weave because white America won't accept me, or men won't accept me, or men only like a certain type of natural hair, or men only like hair that's closer to European. It is over 8 billion people on this planet. 8 billion people plus on Earth. Do you know that I never leave the house wondering, God, who's gonna like me with my natural hair? Oh my God, they're not gonna want to talk to me with my natural hair. Oh my God, the news is not gonna ask me to come on because of my natural hair. Sane people don't sit around thinking about that. Sane, confident people, they work with what they have and go. Not saying that you can't, groom yourself. That's not what this is about. But those that would say, well, you twisting your hair, you got some. Listen, I'm not saying that you can't groom yourself. I'm not saying that you can't, I have decent lips. So I'll put on a little lip gloss. Working with what I have. But do you know if somebody said, I prefer baloney lips, I'm not going to feel bad about it, because out of 8 billion people, I know at least one other than myself that want to put his lips on my lips just the way they are, the size that they are, And even if he didn't, I would still love my lips. I'm not going to try and change them. I'm working with what I have. So if I was mad at other people or people that made jokes about lips, that would be my own insecurities. That would be me feeling a certain way about my own shortcomings. That would not be somebody else's responsibility. And in 2025, it's time for us to stop putting our self-esteem in the hands of somebody else. Stop putting how we feel about ourselves in the hands of someone else. That's why I would say I can't stand social media, but then people would say, well, you're on social media and on some of your platforms, you have thousands of followers, because I understand social media is like a game. It is what it is. You use it to promote you, yourself, your brand, and whatever that is, or whoever you are. Social media should not determine how you feel about yourself. If you have to feel good based on your amount of likes, based on your comments or views, then you don't really feel good about yourself. Let me say it again. If you have to determine how you feel about yourself based on someone else's opinion, then you don't feel good about yourself. My friends can tell you over the years, I have had some of the weirdest outfits or the ugliest shoes that people hated. I remember I had a pair of like blue suede shoes. They looked kind of like bowling shoes, but then they had this white sole with a heel. People hated those shoes. I'm talking about my closest friends and family hated those shoes. But I loved them. And I would put those shoes on, tie them up, and think I was the best thing since sliced bread. Because it didn't matter what somebody else thought. I liked them, and that's all that matters. So when it comes to you, Ari Lennox, and to any other person, like yourself, love yourself so that you can stop hearing things that don't exist because you have low self-esteem or you don't feel so good about yourself. For the most part, I will post something and I'm not checking to see who liked it, who viewed it, who made a comment. I'll go through and like comments because I appreciate people interacting with me, taking the time. That is me saying thank you. But it is never me wondering for real, whether I'm approved or not. I'm approved before I even drop something because I approve myself. God approved me when he woke me up that morning to go about my day and do whatever it is I needed to do. I was approved. And that's some of y'all problem. You're looking all other places for approval. Black people constantly talking about white supremacy. The problem is not with somebody that thinks they're supreme for being white. The problem is with you thinking somebody is supreme because they're white. Because listen, if you was focused on self, you wouldn't have time to worry about what somebody else thought about you. Y'all pant, literally pant. Y'all pant after white approval, somebody else approval, and go to bed sad if you don't get it. Do you know how many times people have something negative to say about me? You know what I do? Turn my phone off. Well, not turn it off, but I just come out the app. Sometimes sometimes I'm so unbothered that I may take a screenshot and send it to somebody else. It might be a good little chuckle. So a chuckle for me, a chuckle for somebody else. But it's time to grow up. Black women. I'm so sick of hearing y'all talk about what other people don't like about you. It made me feel some type of way. As a dark-skinned woman, I feel take that wig off then. Take that out. Be you. Because from what I see, Ari Lennox is a nice looking woman. I don't know what she look like without makeup, but from what I see, she's a nice looking woman. Ain't no need of you saying it made you feel some type of way. It's comedy. Ha ha, laugh, move on. Or don't laugh. It ain't gonna change the fact that Martin was a great show. And there's certain episodes like the one with Biggie Smalls, I could watch over and over again. And when it comes to scolding, I could say Wiggy Smalls had something to say about a show 30 years ago. I'm not even going to say this is what I could say, but I'm not. Grow up, women. Grow up, Black women, and start looking at self, worrying about self, and stop focusing so much on what you think somebody else think about you. Because when you think you are hot shit in a champagne glass, you're not worried about somebody thinking that you are lukewarm diarrhea in a Dixie cup. It don't even matter. You're going to strut around like hot shit in a champagne glass. You ain't got to come up with all this Black excellent, Black queen, Black girl magic, Black. Y'all so, ooh. This is why I say I'm going to unblack myself. Because y'all focus too much on stuff that don't even matter. Start focusing on your character, your morals, your integrity, your values, things that actually matter. Start focusing on your ability or inability at this point to reason logically. Because y'all exhausted me with all this emotional, unhealed BS. Pam was just so beautiful. Yes, and Pam was a character. Tashina Arnold was and is still a beautiful woman. The character she played, Pam, and the insults that flew around everybody. There was no respect to person when it came to insults on that show. What you harbored for yourself speaks volumes about how you feel about yourself. This ain't got nothing to do with Martin. This got everything to do with y'all insecure women and pointing the finger elsewhere. It's your own insecurity. Peace.